It's been just over 7 months since Gran Turismo 7 was released, and yet the game has faded almost entirely into the background for most racing game fans. What was meant to be a return to glory for the franchise has all but disappeared from the racing scene, and with the game not even a year old yet, that leaves us to make a bold but very valid claim. I'm Mark from RacingGames, and today I'm here to state that Gran Turismo 7 is a failure. After Gran Turismo Sport's heavy focus on online multiplayer, there was plenty of talk that Gran Turismo 7 would be a return to the glory of single player. As it turns out, that hope was entirely misplaced, as the single player aspect of Gran Turismo 7 has been a huge letdown. Sure, the missions and license center were hits, but only for a few weeks. Outside of that, there is almost nothing replayable. The GT Cafe took the place of a normal campaign, and only served to set challenges that push players through automotive history rather than through Sunday Cups and up the ranks. Once completed, there was no reason to go back, with all the missions and license tests paying out only once, which is part of a bigger problem that I'll come back to shortly. Previous Gran Turismo games made their name on a deep upgrade tune race loop that kept you searching for that extra performance in the lower vehicle ranks as you worked your way up to the hypercars. With GT7, not only did the cafe throw new cars at you at a rapid rate, but you soon had Group 3 cars in your garage, with every race encouraging you to use these cars over the rest of your garage from that point on. And then we have the AI. While games like Assetto Corsa and F1 22 have AI drivers that you can actually race against, GT7's AI is just awful. Single player races use a rolling start, with the lead car often 25 or more seconds ahead of you, just to cover for the fact that the AI is incredibly basic and tedious to race against. Even in a 3-lap race, most players find themselves leading before the halfway point, just proving how easy the AI is to race against. Alright, let's now go back and address that issue with payouts. The in-game economy of Gran Turismo 7 is, to put it bluntly, woeful. Rewards for races are pitiful, which has just served to push players into repeating the same race over and over again, which, let's be honest, is not a fun way to play any game. The races that could be abused, like the Tomahawk in Tokyo, were quickly patched so the exploits no longer worked. This, combined with new circuits like Watkins Glen and fresh Barcelona layouts coming in with no reward incentive to race them, means players have had to really grind to earn their rewards. Of course, this is also not including the limited time availability of wildly expensive cars that end up driving players towards microtransactions. The Legend Cars section has a rotating cast of cars that can cost up to 20 million credits that are only available for a short amount of time, all while the rewards during this period, even for online races, are tiny. There is obviously a balance to strike. Forza Horizon 5 is guilty of throwing hundreds of cars at players almost immediately, whereas Gran Turismo 7 implements a FOMO system to push players to play longer or pay real money for their cars. It's not well balanced and doesn't incentivize well-rounded play. The races with the best payouts have been the same for months, forcing those with only a little time to race to simply repeat the same race over and over if they want to eventually afford that Mercedes-Benz 300 SL 52. It's a broken economy, forcing players to rinse and repeat only to find out they've missed the window for the legend car they had their eye on. Before we move on, have you subscribed to RacingGames yet? Just one click and you're on the RacingGames grid. Oh, and hit that notification bell too so you never miss an upload. Alright, on with the video. Now all of this could be justified, but only just, if the online experience was good, or even if there had been a decent evolution from GT Sport's online offerings. But sadly, that's just not the case. Daily races are still just a trio of events that change weekly, and still usually involve Group 3 or Group 4 cars, with the balance of performance forcing players into a single car if they want to be competitive. Rewards are awful, custom lobbies are still unstable, and while Race A has been converted to an unranked race, it all still feels very much like Gran Turismo Sport. The online experience in GT7 feels more like GT Sport 2.0 than a standalone experience, and that's really not a good thing at all. The visuals are also almost identical, as GT7 was originally developed for the PS4 before being adapted to the PS5 midway through its development cycle. perhaps the cross-platform capability has indeed come at a cost, just like we predicted in a previous video, but that's just our speculation. What we can say with confidence is GT7 plays like GT Sport, but with a single player mode tacked on, and that's just not how it should be done in our opinion. In the end, Gran Turismo 7 has been a failure when it comes to the classic Gran Turismo experience, or even leaving a mark in the racing scene. There's been no innovation or creation since Gran Turismo Sport and Gran Turismo 6, meaning the series as a whole has evolved very little over the last few years. While new cars and tracks will be added over the life cycle of the game, there is little reason to play beyond the racing itself, and that's where the problem lies. While iRacing and R-Factor 2 are limited to PC players only, titles like Assetto Corsa Competizione have landed on PlayStation and offered a far better driving experience for players. Gran Turismo has competition now, meaning Polyphony will need to up their game if they want to keep the real driving simulator tag, especially when games like R-Factor 2 are derived from the same source code as actual racing simulators. It's going to be a few years before Gran Turismo 8, and by then we'll be a long way from the peak of the series with Gran Turismo 4. Single player is not emphasised in many racing games anymore, but where it is done much better than Gran Turismo 7. But for all that lack of care with the single player experience, the online play is still lacking too. Overall, Gran Turismo 7 has been a huge letdown for racers around the world, and it sadly does bring into question the continued prominence of the series. What do you think? Do you believe Gran Turismo 7 could be deemed a failure, or do you think the game has worked out just fine? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to join in on the conversation. For now though, thanks for watching. I've been Mark from RacingGames, please like and subscribe for all things Gran Turismo 7, and now I'm off to continue my racing grind. I've worked out that if I just keep racing non-stop for another week and a half, I can finally afford my dream legend car.